Hi everyone, in this video we're going to look at several key steps you can implement to reboot and reset yourself for the new year. We have the new year coming up, or at any point in the year you want to do a reset and reboot and set yourself up on a more firm launching pad for the next stage of your life. It's a way to clean some of the bad habits out and put yourself on a much stronger springboard going into the next phase. I think of this often as a 6 or 12 month reset. So I'm looking 6 or 12 months out. How am I going to take myself to the next level? Before we get started, a quick note that we have launched the new version of the Notion Life Design course. Version 3 is now live. We went down for a while we rebuilt and enhanced many aspects of it. It's a full masterclass and membership program now. It has the self-paced core training that you can go through at your own pace, implement, revisit, but at the same time, it now has a more vibrant, enhanced community. Plus, it has much more enhanced live programming. We now have several coaches joining me on the teaching team, and we have regular programming constantly. So it's going to have workshops, live Q&As, live engagement, and ways to build and enhance your life. This is all about full comprehensive life design and shaping yourself into the person you want to be. So it is now the program I dreamed of several years ago when we first started it. It has all come together and it's now housed in one environment where everything interacts with each other. So the community, the live programming, the recorded training, it is all now interactive and intertwined so that each component enhances the other. So if that's of interest, I'll leave the link below. That is the fast track and really the ultimate way to implement the Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults PPV life optimization system. It's taken to new heights, both in terms of the training and in terms of the system itself, which is now on its 4th generation of iteration with all the feedback we've gotten from previous course members and all the people who have implemented it from the YouTube channel. All this feedback has gone into several generations, now in the 4th generation. So this is the most battle-tested, proven life optimization system in Notion, and it's now embedded into a very holistic training program and membership, all about life design and life enhancement using Notion. So if that's of interest, link below. Now let's dive into today's topic. On this channel, we explore creating systems in our lives to perform better and achieve what matters most to each of us. And at the heart of that is periods where we have to reset and reframe and launch again to go into the next stage of our lives. Often at the new year, that's a good point to really do that reflection and reframing, but it doesn't have to be at the new year. It can be at any point in the year you feel you need a reset. And these are the key points that I go through to implement that reset. If you want to do an annual review and annual planning process, which I highly, highly recommend, it is truly essential at blasting into the new year and setting the stage and accomplishing what you want to accomplish and becoming that person that you want to become. I highly recommend the annual review and planning process in the videos I posted last year. Nothing's changed. I did a massive revamp of that process. I was unhappy with everything out there. It was so abstract and conceptual and new agey and touchy-feely. It wasn't practical and actionable, but it is valuable to have that high-level reflection. So I redid my whole approach to this with best practices from across the board and a lot of insights I've gained teaching people life design in the course, on YouTube, in various communities where I teach this, in one-on-one coaching. I just think this is the most effective, tactile, tangible, actionable approach I have ever seen. So I'm not going to redo that video this year because the one last year is the one that I stand by and recommend. So there are 2 videos. One is for annual review and one is for annual planning. I'll link to both of those below. I highly recommend that. But this video on how to do a reset and reframing for the new year complements those very nicely. So this is sort of an addition to those, creating a 3-piece set between the 3 of them. So with that, let's dive into how to do this reset and reframing. So fundamental to this is if you feel the past year, the past 12 months, the past 6 months, the past few months, that you've been stuck, that you haven't been progressing, that you haven't been growing, that you haven't been moving at the pace you want to move. And that's a frequent feeling. That's something many of us feel at many points, even throughout the year. And you need to do that reset. This is that reset. These are the most fundamental things, I think, to reframe going forward. So number 1 is to identify your patterns. You are shaped by patterns, not one-offs. We have one-off incidents happen to us all the time, but those are not the things that really shape us. It's our day in and day out. It's the patterns that we repeat endlessly. Many of them are merely just patterns that echo. Others are feedback loops that build up with strength or decline with diminishing returns. You need to identify your good patterns and identify your bad patterns, and then identify the desired patterns that aren't a part of your life at all. Really dig in and reflect on the things that occur over and over. Make 2 lists, the good positive ones and the negative ones. Identify them clearly. You need to break those negative ones and you need to build up and enhance and support those good ones. This is at the heart of the guiding principles process we do in the course. We go through our past year or our past several years if doing it for the first time and really dig up the memories. We go through our calendar, we go through our journals, any historical PPV tracking we've done, and we see what are the good loops, what are the bad loops, what's serving us, what is not serving us well. Once we do that and identify those, we think of ways to enhance the good ones and to break the bad ones. And then we think of what are the desired patterns or loops we want to build into our lives. Remember, you are what you're doing every day, or at least every week, those recurring patterns, because they are relentless. The repetition of them builds and embeds deep in us. It hammers a certain result by its just sheer redundancy. So it's these patterns you want to focus on. One-off splurges, one-off mistakes, one-off good moments. Those are great, but it's those repeating, recurring patterns that shape us into who we are. So you want to very deliberately identify the ones in your life and shape the ones that serve you and cut off the ones that don't, and then envision ones that would serve you better. This is fairly abstract. We're going to go through these points fairly quickly to get the overview. In the future, we'll do whole videos going deeper into each of these. And many of these, this one in particular, reflect back on our mindset and identity sculpting videos. I'll link to those in the description below as well, because this is building on those concepts. And the number 1 is to identify, reflect on, and design better recurring patterns in our lives so we can shape positive feedback loops and break negative ones, and then design new ones that we need to go to the next level that we want to achieve. Number 2, we need to raise our minimum standards. We need to bring up that baseline that we will not accept falling below. We tend not to be nearly as motivated or driven to achieve our dreams as we do to ensure we don't fall below minimum standards. Minimum standards are that point where you look in the mirror and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how I've let myself get out of shape. Or your bank account hits a certain low level and you're like, this is a crisis level. This is not acceptable. I cannot live like this. Or disorder in your family or your life or in anything hits a low that is so low you just say, no, I cannot accept this anymore. I cannot let myself fall to this level or below it. So the key to raising your performance, to reaching new heights, is not to dream bigger. That's nice, and we set our goals and we do that. But the most effective thing is to raise that minimum base level that we are willing to accept. Make the minimum that is unacceptable higher than you've ever raised it before. In many ways, it's easier to raise those minimums. You don't have to have these spectacular accomplishments. You don't have to perform superhuman feats at the upper level. You need to make sure your minimum is a high level and you will not accept falling below it. Or if you dip below it momentarily, you fight hard to climb back up above it. That is really the key. Being exceptional is not doing exceptional things all the time. It's just consistently being solid, consistently doing good work, showing up, meeting your minimum standards. And if you want to perform at a higher level, the most effective and most reliable way is to raise those minimum standards. That's more effective more often than raising your dreams, because the dreams are nice to have, but our minimum standards, we are determined not to accept. It actually hits us viscerally. It is a red flag, an alarm that goes off in our head when we go below those minimum standards. So you want to set them high rather than just accept them at their default level. Number 3, you want to identify what you do not want in life. In a couple points in the PPV, Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults system, we have not to-do lists, things to be very deliberate about not doing. In our daily routine, we identify our not to-do items for the day, things that have traditionally pulled us off track in the recent few days. We want to identify them, call them out, and be clear not to do them. We're going to be on alert for these temptations that have, in the recent past, pulled us off track. Similarly, in our weekly and monthly reviews, we can identify not to-do lists. In the action zone, we list not to-dos, things we're not going to get pulled into that pull us away from our true priorities, from our true mission. Similarly, in our life overall, as we're planning who we want to become, Because fundamentally, all this is about shaping the identity to become the person we need to become to achieve the things we want to achieve. That's what the whole Pillars Pipelines Involved system, channels and funnels and shapes. We can, at the outset, when we're doing this reset, identify what we do not want to be at the end of the period that we're looking forward to, whether it's a 6-month or 12-month period. Where do I not want to be in 6 or 12 months? Identify this explicitly during this reset time. Be really clear on what you do not want to become or end up as. And that may, in some cases, be what you ended up as at this point from the past time period. If you're not happy with where you are after the past 6 or 12 months, you need to identify what you do not want to be in the next 6 or 12 months to make a clear visualization of what you are avoiding. And that is going to help you shape what you do want to do and what you need to do to avoid that outcome. So we want to identify our goals, our value goals, and our outcome goals, which are described in previous videos. But we want to also clearly articulate what we do not want to end up as, which is often the default path if we do nothing. So that will spur action. It will bring clarity on the actions we need to take to avoid that result. It's sort of a negative visualization. And then similarly, we want to do the positive visualization. We've talked about that in previous videos. We'll talk about that more. That is goal setting, particularly with the high-level value goals, which are the aspirations in our life, and then the specific, more actionable outcome goals that are linked to serve those value goals. And with that 2-step goal setting process, we have our positive visualization and our target, but it helps to similarly be equally clear in what we do not want to end up as, or the state we don't want to end up in after the 6 or 12-month period that we're planning and resetting for. So essentially, it's a not to become or not to end up as list, the set of criteria that you don't want to have at the end of the 6 or 12 months. List those on paper, articulate them very clearly. Keep another list, perhaps in Notion or your digital planner, so that you can keep a clear visualization of what you do not want to end up as. In many cases, this will serve as better motivation than the positive outcome that you've also mapped out. The I don't want to end up here again, or I don't want to end up here at all, will be a powerful motivator to implement the game plan to avoid that outcome. And then finally, number 4, identify specific people who are where you want to be. And the more specific, the better. If they're in your field, if they're doing the kind of work that you want to be doing, if they're accomplished in a field that you've been working in, identify specific people and look at what they're doing, look at how they're doing it, and look at how long they've been doing it for. Roll back to their earlier work if possible. And if it's someone in this creator space that we're all in, then it's even easier because you've got the history of work out there. If it's someone who's more high profile, look at their earlier books and articles, interviews they've done. Or if there's someone in a more niche field and they're not famous, look at perhaps trade magazine discussions they've had. If it's someone you know in real life, talk to them about it. That's the best. If it's someone that you have access to. Whatever you can do, study what they are doing, study how long they've been doing it, study specifically what are their routines, what are their habits, what is their process for goal setting, what is their psychology, what are the actions and tactics they are taking now, and to the extent possible, what were the actions and tactics that they took earlier in the process to get where they are now. What are their patterns? Just like in the beginning of this discussion, we were talking about what are the patterns that are serving us and what are the patterns that are not serving us. Study what are the patterns that are serving the people you want to become like and what they commit to and what they live by. That will reveal how they got there. Remember, outcomes are a lagging factor. Outcomes are the outcome at the end, but that is not how you get there. You get there through tactics and patterns and actions. The tactics and actions and patterns that you implement will lead to various outcomes. So study the ones where you see the outcome you want in another person. Study the processes that got them there. And this is quite powerful in this reset stage, and to stick with the process you set in the reset phase, because just as we set our goals and identify the endpoint we want to be at, it's even more clear and more visceral to see an actual person who is in that point. It brings it alive. It fleshes it out with more detail when you see a person who has achieved what you're striving to achieve. So reverse engineer their success. This is a great thing to do during this reset and reframing time, because now you're building into your life the patterns and routines and cycles that you saw get other people to that point. So it becomes a very clear path with a proven history when you're looking at other people who have implemented these actions and tactics and had the outcome that you're now seeking to build in your own life. So I'm keeping this pretty tight so this video doesn't get too long, but those are the general frameworks for 4 points that will produce a very effective reframing and resetting into the new year, into any new period that you're moving into, and particularly if you're unhappy with where you ended up from your previous process, from the previous 6 or 12 months or 3 months or whatever. This will give a reset or reframe and a fresh new start on a better track. And even if you are happy with how you've been performing, this will inevitably take you to a new level. Everything about this works from any starting point and up levels your actions, your path, and your clarity for any next stage of your life. So be sure to check out the annual review and annual planning videos that I recorded last year. They'll be linked in the description below. Those are really effective processes to review and understand the patterns of your past year or past 6 months, and to map out and very precisely, in a very tactile and actionable way, map out the game plan for the upcoming year. They do the high-level reflection, the high-level conceptual work, but then they link it to very specific tactile actions. It can be done in a Notion PPV system. That's what it's built for. But really, this can stand alone. This can be done in Notion independent of PPV, in a standalone Notion page for annual review and annual planning, or it could be done in paper and pencil. It could be done in Evernote, in Obsidian, in whatever app you're using. Apply the question and the framework in whatever context you like to implement your life. We will be doing more of these performance enhancement tactics and rewiring our minds to perform and become the people we want to become, to achieve the things we want to achieve, along with full life design practices and new elements of Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults, the life optimization system. If this is of interest, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to get updates on future videos. And please hit like if you found this video valuable. Leave your thoughts or questions below, or join us in the Notion Life Design course to explore these topics more extensively. That's at notionlifedesign.com. Again, we just launched the new version 3 of this program. It is enhanced. It is better. We have learned so much from the past process that I feel this program is just so good right now. And the energy coming into it. This launch that just happened has set a new record for a launch week. Never been a better time to design your life using Notion. And if that's what you want to do, the Notion Life Design course is built for that. I also write the Life Design newsletter on increasing human capability. I give away several of my best Notion templates to anyone who subscribes to the newsletter. If you're interested in that, the link is also below in the description. I also give away several of my best Notion templates to anyone who subscribes to the newsletter. The newsletter is free, and the link to that is also below in the description. Thanks for watching. Lots more to come.